Hey brew tubers and YouTubers, well for me the day has finally come. I'm doing my first IPA I've ever done. I fell in love with IPAs a few months back and I've been wanting to brew one ever since, and I finally got all the ingredients. And so I shot some footage of the day. It's a little long, so just bear with me, I'm sorry. I had a lot of hop additions and that type of stuff. And real quickly, I'm going to show you guys the aftermath, then the footage, and then I will be back with you for a few comments. So hang in there. Okay, and here's the aftermath. And again, sorry about the bathroom shots, but this is where I put my fermenting bucket and stuff in this shower. So I'm just showing you guys kind of the aftermath of today. So that's a sample I had, my starting gravity one after the boil, what I stirred up my wort with, my filthy boil kettle. So anyhow, but I'm going to flip over to the shooting of everything, and then I'll be back with comments.
Okay, here's my yeast I just pulled out of the fridge. I'm just letting it get warmed up so I can do a yeast starter with it. This is the American Ale 1056. This is what I harvested from the SJ pour.
Okay, and here we have, this is all the grain I just ground up. So I didn't take any video of that just because that's way too much of a pain. So let me grab my sheet here a second. Hold on a second, I'll be right back. Okay, so like I was just showing you the grain I just ground up. So basically you're talking almost 14.5 pounds of grain. So there's 7 pounds of 2-row, 7 pounds of Maris Otter, 6 ounces of Crystal 60L. And then, the sugar will be added in towards the end of the boil. And then here's all my hops. So I'm trying something new which I've never done before. I've heard of the continuous hopping that some of the breweries do with their beers, especially Dogfish. So I thought I would try something, a little trick where I do 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, and then flame out. And I'm going to try something new with the flame out thing too, where I see a lot of people have watched Brew Geek and some other ones where they say, they let their wort get down to about 140 when they're chilling it down, and then they add their hops at that point so that you're not adding them in at boiling and having some of that evaporate off. So I'm going to try that this time around too. Then you can see I'm doing the American Ale 1056. That's what I harvested from the SJ pour. And then here's the other thing I got to figure out though. I'm going to be mashing in with about 4.5 gallons and then batch sparging with a little over 4 gallons. But the directions that Brew Target's doing is kind of weird because they're like bring 3.5 gallons of water to 168 and then 2.5 gallons of water for upcoming infusions. Add 3.5 gallons to mash, bring it to 150. Bring the mash to 150, hold for 60 minutes. Add 3.5, and then it says add 2.5 gallons to mash to bring it to 168. So I'm trying to figure out. I don't know if they're wanting me to batch sparge twice, so I just need to read the directions on this a little bit. But you can see this is going to be a lot of measuring and a lot of stuff going on. So, but this is going to be my first IPA I've ever done, so I just want to give it a shot and take a little more time with this one. It's estimating 7% alcohol, and right now it's sitting at 67.6 IBUs. So we'll see how that turns out in the end. And so then at this point I will get to the the boiling of the strike water, and then I will put that in the cooler, warm it up a little bit, and then mash in. Okay, and here's my yeast starter. I made a pretty big yeast starter for this one. In fact, maybe too big. You can see the krausen up there. I started this at midnight last night, and it's about 9:30 in the morning. So this has been on, about 9 to 10 hours. So I just wrapped some paper towel around it just in case it drips down a little bit. But I will definitely tell you guys a very interesting story about this later, about how I felt like I went from genius to a complete idiot very quickly. Okay, I'm heating up my strike water, and as you can see, here's my, I don't know, you guys probably can't really see that. Here's my measuring stick. So if I put this in here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. If I show this to you guys, you can see it's about 4.5. My recipe calls for a 4.492 gallons to mash in with, but it's close enough to 4.5, so that's what I'm heating up for my strike water. So when I am ready to mash in, I will show you guys. Okay, and this is going to be the first time using my new mash tun. So I heated up my strike water, and I'm just preheating my cooler a little bit. So, and then after that, I'm going to go ahead and mash in. Okay, so I just mashed in. I took my temperature. It was just a little over 150. I was shooting for 154, so it's just going to have to be close enough. So we're going to go ahead and let it rest for 60 minutes. Okay, we're at our 60 minutes. I gotta say I'm pretty pleased with this cooler then, because it might be hard to see. I don't know if it'll clear up, but we're still sitting at about 150 right now. So might be hair cooler over here, maybe 148. Try over here. It's the high 140s, right around 150, and I started probably around 152 or so. But again, I'm doing this outside my garage. It's probably about 50 degrees out right now, so losing about a degree or a couple degrees really is not that big a deal. So, alright, let's move on to the first runnings. Let me switch over to this other side. I'll see if I can do this one-handed. I don't know how easy it's going to be. Grab my hose here. I'll turn this on and we'll see how easy this is. Sorry, there we go. So it's definitely a little cloudy, but again, the hose had a little bit in it, so it's probably not that big a deal. Let me, so you can see it there, and I definitely opened this up too wide, so I will be back with you. Hold on. Okay, I started these, the second running's definitely a little slower. I didn't have the last one opened wide up, but see if you can kind of see it here. So it's actually looking not too bad right now. You can see that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take maybe a third running off this, and then I'm going to go ahead and start draining this into my mash tun to get ready for my, my brew kettle to get ready for my batch sparge. Okay, we're draining now. Let's see if I can get a shot of this. Yeah, let me just take a picture of the hose. So look at that. I mean, that is just a beautiful color right now. And actually, I'm clogging up the hose right now. I can definitely tell I need to raise my mash tun up higher, but you can get a good picture here how it's coming out. Or maybe I just need to shorten up the hose, but I think maybe raising the mash tun would be a good idea. But it's got a real nice color to it. Alright, so when I get into my get this drained and do my batch sparge, I'll be back. Okay, and I'd shown you guys a new in a previous video of mine that I got a new brew kettle that I'm going to use this spring, this summer. I got to convert this keg. Well, I guess I found a good use for it. So I took it off the chair and I raised this up a little bit, so the gravity feed should be a little bit better. And then here you go. You can see this guy's filling up nicely. See if I can find a mark on here. So right now I think we're just we're past the 2-gallon mark and we're still draining. So okay, this is after the batch sparge. We're doing a second runnings in here now. So right now we're approaching 4 gallons. The other thing cool about this notch lid, now I'm liking this more and more, is when I'm draining into there, I can keep this covered, which is kind of cool. Anyhow, I'm also heating up some more water just in case I need to do a second sparge, just because I want to make sure I get, what am I targeting? Let me see here. So I am shooting for a boil volume of 6.8. So I want to get it pretty close to 7 gallons. And here you can see I've laid out all my hops. 60 minute, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, and flame out when the temp gets down to about 140. And then there's my pound of sugar I'm going to put in there with about 5 minutes left and stir it in. And then there's my yeast nutrient and Irish moss. And I was definitely wrong about needing a second sparge, because here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I was looking for 6.8, 6.9. I think we're about dead on. So I'm definitely not doing another sparge. So here we are. I'll be back with you when we're boiling. And, here's the inside of the mash tun when we're all done. So I'm definitely not too bad. I'm definitely gonna save off a bunch of this to make some dog treats. Maybe try some of that bannock bread, and maybe make some granola bars or cookies. I'm going to save off more than I usually do this time. Okay, I went ahead and pulled a sample off out of the brew kettle too. So definitely see this has a real nice color to it. Let's see how clear it is. Yeah, so right now. But I just pulled this out of the spigot in the brew kettle, so. But I'm going to go ahead and put this in the fridge and just cool it down to, you know, about 75, 80 degrees, and then I'll take a reading on it for my pre-boil. Pretty sure I've showed this to you guys too, brewery timer before. So this is how I do all my stuff. So you can see I've already done all the mash stuff. You can see my boil is set for 75 minutes, and then you can see everything else down there. And then we are almost to boil. It's a little over 200 degrees right now. So once I start my 75 minute, I'll be back. Okay, I've started my 70-minute timer. We're definitely through hot break and at a good boil right now. And you can see the protein I was scooping off. Kind of decided to scoop up and go over my pot a little bit, so I cleaned it up a little bit down here. So we're going to have a little bit of extra cleaning to do today of this pot, but you can see we are definitely boiling now. And then let me flip you over here. Hold on a second. Sorry about pointing down. And then here you go. You can see the timer going off. So there's the, let me get this to focus. So there's the boil timer, and then you can see it'll show you when the next alarm is, which is going to be the 60-minute edition for the Columbus. And then these will just keep clicking down. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys how this worked. So you can see these 75 minutes boil is about done. So I can just click alarm off, and then you can see it'll automatically go to the next one. So now it's time to do the hop addition. So this is basically 1 ounce of you can't see it, 1 ounce of Columbus. I'm just going to carefully add these in since I haven't dropped the heat down. So far so good. Whoa. Alright, there you go, that's the 60 minutes. So we will be back at the 50 minute. Time for hop addition number 2. Half ounce of Columbus. We'll be back in 10 minutes. In the meantime, this is cooled down to probably about 80-85 degrees, so I'm just taking a reading. I don't know if we'll get that to focus or not. Lighting's kind of bad, so from what I can tell, let's take a good look at this guy. It's looking like about 1052 pre-boil. Let's give this one more spin just to make sure. That's kind of what it looked like to me. Yeah, it's looking like it's just below the 1050, so we're going to call pre-boil 1052. Okay, and I'm not going to show you adding all these in, but here we are at the 40 minute. This is a 1/4 ounce of Columbus. Okay, next hop addition. We're now at 1/4 ounce Centennial, 1/4 ounce Columbus. Okay, we are at our 20 minutes, which is a 1/2 ounce of Centennial. Okay, I just dumped the yeast nutrient and Irish moss in, and then next is going to be a 1/2 ounce Cascade, 1/2 ounce Centennial. Okay, last boil addition is I just added all the sugar, and now I'm going to add the Cascade. So as you guys can see, all my additions are done. So got another, well, for now there, got another 3 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and take this in to start cooling it down. I figured I'd just take one more quick shot. I just had the lid on here partially just to help sterilize it a little bit. But there it is. I have a feeling I'm going to end up with a hair more than I expected because we're still floating around that 6-gallon mark. And that's even after a 75-minute boil. Okay, there's my yeast starter. Here's the wort. It's probably down to, I don't know, I'm guessing about 78 to 76 degrees right now. There's my bucket with star sand I'm about to dump out, and I'm going to start my siphon into this, and then I'll take another temperature reading before dumping the yeast. Okay, sorry about the bathroom shots, but this is where I do my stuff mainly. There you go, now I'm siphoning in. Boy, can I smell those hops. And then I'm going to pull the hose out here a second, dump a little bit into my hydrometer jar just so I can get a reading. Okay, and just look how clear this is. Man, this is clear as a bell already. Alright, so where are we going to end up at? Where, oh where? Okay, to me, if I can get a shot of this. Come on, focus. Oh, this is not wanting to focus, is it? Try this again. Anyhow, well, I don't know. This thing's struggling to focus. But it's looking like it's about 1070 to 1072, so I'm going to double check that here in a second. If I look at my starting gravity, 1072, so I think I'm just about right on the mark. And that whole pre-boil thing with 1052, I'll explain that in a few minutes, why it's so much lower. Again, I just want to show you guys how clear this thing is. It's amazing how clear it is already. So, and then here's this guy, still draining down. And we're still going into here. Okay, so you can see I'm using my drill attachment here and just kind of whipping this guy up just to aerate it. And we ended up right at about 5 gallons. Less than I wanted, but I'll show you why. And note to self, I'm going to start using hot bags. Look at this mess in here. So I got out as much as I could, but that bazooka screen's pretty clogged right now, but you can see it's just a big old mess in here. So I might have lost I don't know, we'll say a quarter of a gallon to this, but no big deal. We still ended up with about 5 gallons. And so right now it's still sitting at about 78 to 80 degrees, so I'm going to keep stirring it up, get it down to about 75, and then just pitch that whole thing. Okay, and here's the final product. I just went ahead and put a blow-off tube on it now. You know, put the airlock in there, I have some star sand in there, and then just a tube. Right now I have it running into my star sand bucket, but I'm going to go find a pitcher and then put the hose in the pitcher. But there you go, there's my IPA brew, and I'll run through some of the numbers in a few minutes. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. My brew day is finished, other than I have a crap load of cleanup to do still, but I'm also working today, so I'm trying to do both at the same time. I want to explain some of the numbers a second. You know, the targets pre-boil gravity they had me at was, it was a little too high. They had it at 1060 something. I have to go back and look, but mine was 1052. The reason for that is brew target. I need to figure out how this works. I try tweaking it here and there, doing after the boil, before the boil. I move the sugar around, but still when I generated the instructions for the brew day, something was just off, which I don't understand yet, and I need to figure it out. Because I had 1052. The reason it was 1052 is because the sugar wasn't in there yet. Even though when you put the sugar into brew target, you know, that's where it bumps up the gravity. So the starting gravity was just off, but that's fine. I think mine was right at 1052. Now the final gravity after the boil was done was 1070. It projected 1072. I put my brew house efficiency at a little over 80%, so I'm very happy with that. I don't think I could have done much better. That was my brand new mash tun. I'm very pleased with my brand new mash tun because it gave me a little bit more room to stir and everything with, where my Igloo one would have been maxed to the top, overflowing pretty much. I was able to use a little bit more grain, more batch water, more mash water, more batch water, all that kind of stuff, which was really nice. I used my new brew kettle today, which I'm very happy with it because the bazooka screen in it, there's two things. The bazooka screen in it really filtered out the hops awesome, all by itself. I was very pleased with that. The negative is I did so many hops in this thing that it ended up kind of clogging up the bazooka screen, and I had to scrape it off a few times, which really was just a pain in the butt. I probably lost maybe, I actually think it was more than a quarter of a gallon. It's probably more around a half a gallon that I lost just because I couldn't quite drain it all because it was getting so mucky. So next time I try this recipe, assuming it turns out well, I am going to definitely use hot bags, and I want to see if that's any different. Because that bazooka screen just kept getting clogged, so maybe next time I do this I'll end up with more around 5.5 gallons to ferment with. But nonetheless, 5 gallons is good enough. I'm happy with it. And if this thing really takes off, no matter what, I'll take a shot of it for Homebrew Wednesday, just to show you guys where that's at. And so far so good. I'm very happy with this. I'm very pleased. The new equipment I made worked out really well. And I'm really hoping this turns out to be a really good beer because I'd love this to be a staple beer of mine that I can brew going forward. I hope you guys were able to bear with me. I know it was a long video and I apologize for that. I had so many hop additions. Even if I spaced those out just for 10 seconds a piece, I added a lot of time to it. I just had a lot of stuff. So, can't forget this. If you guys remember when I made my yeast starter, I said I went from being a genius to a complete idiot, and here's why. I thought this time around, you know what? I've never done this before. When I make my yeast starter, I'm going to make it in a pot like I made before. I'll boil it for about 10 minutes. Then I will add it to my Erlenmeyer flask, and I'll put it on the stove and maybe boil it for another 5 minutes in that to sterilize the whole thing. So here I am doing it. Everything's just working out beautiful. Just a beautiful idea. I just thought I was a genius for it. Then for some idiotic reason, I took a half a teaspoon of yeast nutrient, dumped it in there with the heat on. It shot up about 1.5 foot above the Erlenmeyer flask all over my stove. Don't ever do that. Just warning. So what I had to do is clean everything up, make a whole nother starter in a pot. This time I added a teaspoon of yeast nutrient in the pot, for the boil. Then I added in the Erlenmeyer flask, boiled it for about another 5 minutes or so, and then cooled that down, put my yeast in it, and then put it on my stir plate. So I don't know why I did it. It was completely boneheaded. And also I made about a 1.6 to 1.7 liter starter, and I don't think I'll ever do one that big again in a 2-liter Erlenmeyer, because after I swirled around my slurry and put that in there, that sucker took off way too fast, and I got a pretty high krausen after about 9 hours, and it actually dripped over a little bit. So I think I'm going to drop that down a little bit to maybe 1.25 liters to 1.5, not even 1.5, probably 1.2 to 1.3 liters at the most in the future. So other than that, thanks for watching, and I look forward to watching your videos this Wednesday and Friday, and I'll be putting mine out this Wednesday as well, so cheers.